So I'm doing this little hoop project out here. It's a beautiful day. It's springtime here in Ohio. Second day of spring actually. But we're making room to get some calves. And I didn't want to put them in the barn. It's just not very suited for big animals, but we're getting 2 calves. And so the ground slopes away from it this way, slopes away from it that way as well. And if you look at it from this side, the ground slopes this way as well. And then we have trees. Most of our wind and weather either comes from the southwest or comes from the north over here. So they've got tree line that kind of wraps around that side, long tree line out this way. Some, I mean, not overly deep woods, but they're, you know, fairly thick. And obviously there's like 100 different videos out there on how to build a hoop panel. So I'm not going to go into detail. I mean, it's really simple. If you're at all able to build anything, then it's really easy. Obviously there's T-posts inside these pallets. 3 panels, so it's 12 deep, about 11 feet wide. That's as wide as these panels can handle. But obviously I'll end up putting a brace up there in the peak. I'll end up putting a post out here up to the peak and then running a support down the middle. And rather than trying to use staples, I ripped this out of 2x4s. I got some rough cut 2x4s and I'm screwing that in to just kind of pull this cattle panel to the pallets there. So I'll also probably put another pallet right here. It'll help sturdy up this corner just a little bit. And if I need to, in the winter time, I can wrap the bottom with a tarp, because when I do the top with a tarp, I'm not going to come all the way down to the ground. I want to leave airflow there, it's fine. But if it gets like really cold and I decide I want to block, you know, wind around the bottom, you know, if we have a bunch of weather, you know, I can kind of give this a little bit of a corner, you know, that, you know, to just kind of block wind from coming in there. But anyways, I'll go into more detail on how I'm going to do that when I get to the tarp portion of this. But another thing that I think is going to work out a lot better than just doing a regular tarp is I went to Billboard Vinyls, and I'm getting some of that Billboard Vinyl stuff in here that's supposed to be way more heavy duty. And I've got a grommet kit where I'm going to make grommets, and I'll fasten it probably somewhere like right along there. I'll use that pipe insulation that looks like pipe noodles, or looks like pool noodles, to go around the outside. And I'll probably also put some right here just to keep it from rubbing through. But that also, once again, there's 100 videos on YouTube about these things. So once again, that's nothing new, that's nothing genius, that's something that everybody does with these things. But anyways, it'll be 12 feet deep and about 11 feet wide on the inside. So that should make a nice little shelter for 2 steers. They're just weaned, and they're Jerseys, so they're not going to come up to weight as fast as like an Angus cow will. But in about 1.5 years, we'll be able to take them to the butcher house, have them slaughtered, processed, whatever, if that's more palatable to you to hear it say processed, whatever. But anyways, we'll end up doing that with them later, but that'll get them through this summer, the winter, and at least half of next summer. But I think the way this is going to be with the heavy duty vinyl, I actually think this may last a couple years, several years. Obviously it's not going to be perfect. You know, eventually these pallets rot out. I tried to pick out hardwood pallets. These ones here are not necessarily all oak, but at least they're like poplar. Rather than just using pine. It does have some white oak mixed in there with it. I tried to pick something like that out because the pine, I mean, yeah, it'll make it a couple of years, but that stuff rots so fast. And this, you know, at least being on the hardwood line, is going to probably last a little bit longer. I mean, this is never going to be a permanent structure, but I do want it to last. I mean, if I could get 4 or 5 years out of it, like if I could get 2 rotations of calves out of this thing until I can build something more permanent, then that's what I'll do. And we'll also see if we want to invest in this. Like, I mean, the next thing is, you know, if you're starting out with animals, you know, I mean, I come from a rural background, and I mean, I grew up where we had some calves and, you know, some pigs, and then when I was a little bit older, some goats and stuff like that. But, you know, this is the first time that we're really getting animals myself as a father, as a husband with children, a wife, you know, and we're wanting to see how all of this is going to work out for us. And rather than dumping another couple $1,000s into building a little, you know, 3-sided shelter or something like that, because, I mean, anymore with the price of things, that's about what you would have. I could get free pallets. The most expensive things are going to be the tarp to go over top of it, which cost about $100 by the time I had it shipped. The cattle panels, I mean, now those things are ridiculously expensive. They're like $27 to $29 a piece, depending on where you get them. Obviously the pallets, I think I said, were free. And then the T-posts, which, I mean, good grief, the T-posts even now are, what are they, $6 a piece? And I've got about 9 or 10 of those. I'm trying to think here, probably about, let's just say 10 of them in there. Then there's going to be a pressure treated post in here with a rough cut 2x4s going along the top there. So, I mean, you know, you'll have a couple $100s into it, but really, you know, for $250-ish, something like that, and you get to test out how the whole animal thing is going to suit you and your family, I don't think you can ask for much better than that. So that is the intent to this, to doing it this way. Eventually I'll have a lean-to coming off the back of the barn if we really want to get into this, and then I can shelter them outside the barn there along the back of the barn. But they'll have this nice big old pasture to graze and all that kind of stuff for at least 1.5 years. So I'll update you guys when it comes to the tarp. Okay, so a little bit of an update here on the tarp. I have the tarp stretched over it, and I did get this thing from Billboard Vinyls. I paid, I think, close to $100 for it, and I'm going to go through what I'm doing here, which maybe I should do that first. But as you can see, I'm putting a screw with a big washer into each one of these, this sturdy wood. And this, I bought this to do this project, and this has actually been really, really nice. It's done a great job, and it is by, I don't know, got it off of Amazon, Hapton, I don't know, whatever that's called. But anyways, it does a really good job. And it comes with plenty of grommets here to put these tarp grommets in, and it actually works really, really well. Obviously, I'm trying to do this one-handed, but you put the top piece in, and it is magnetic, so it holds these pieces in place. And oh man, let me get this bottom one in place here. There we go. So all you have to do is fold the tarp over and then just squeeze this. Obviously I lined it up with that, and squeeze it till it pretty much stops. You can kind of feel it stop. It takes, you know, a little bit of pressure there, and then that center just pops right out, and you got yourself a nice grommet. And I picked up these wood screws right here, and then these big washers, and that should allow me to stretch this over tightly. Now I have one thing about this, and it obviously hasn't rained yet. It is a really sturdy tarp, and I do agree that in the wind it may not fly apart quite as quickly, as a tarp you would buy from like a hardware store. But the whole key, the whole advertising key, like their whole marketing gimmick on this thing is having a tarp that's waterproof and one that will stay waterproof for a long time. Okay, now I understand these are used billboards. However, this is their advertisement that they should remain waterproof and good for a very long time. Well, I got mine, and in the daylight here, you can see tons of pinholes. Some of them aren't even showing up on camera very well, like that one there, and all of these over here, which would make me believe that this thing is not waterproof right out of the get-go. You know, I'm willing to pay $100 for something. I'm willing to pay $100 for something that is waterproof, but how can you charge $100 for a 14 by 48 tarp, which that's what the size was, 14 by 48. And I understand it's vinyl coated, and I'm sure it's sturdy, you know, with the wind, it's probably not just going to fly apart. I don't know, you tell me, but it seems to me like maybe this thing should be more like 25 or 50 bucks. There's the rest of it over here, and I've also got a section over here, and part of the reason why I cut sections out of it was because this whole end, I mean, you know, I can put my finger through. It's not like that all the way through, but on the edges that's how it is. And you can even see on the outside. I was trying to find the best section of tarp that didn't have too many of those. Now, I don't know, I'm a little bit undecided on whether I should try to send it back or if I can just, you know, well, I'll be able to use it somewhere, and a little drip here and there is not necessarily that detrimental. And if it holds up in the wind for a couple years, maybe I can still get my money's worth out of it, so to speak. I don't know. I guess I'm just a little bit disappointed. I mean, that is the whole advertisement gimmick. This is all daylight from the outside. Is that this is a waterproof tarp that's going to last you for years. A lot better than those big box hardware store tarps, you know? All of those specs. There's daylight out the other side. And I know somebody will probably say, well, you bought a used tarp, Steve. I know, but their whole gimmick is that this is going to be waterproof and it is going to last you for years. I mean, that's the whole thing, right? Had I known it was going to be like this, I doubt that I would have bought it. The only other thing I can maybe do is use this as a bottom base layer. You know, if it ends up leaking more than I like, and then coming back with, you know, buying actually from the big box stores, right? A roll of like heavy duty plastic or another tarp from the big box stores and go over top of this one yet and stretch that down. And then I'd have two pretty thick layers. However, I know sometimes if you have two layers rubbing against each other, that can create extra unwanted friction that can actually wear holes in your tarps. So I don't know. I'm definitely going to send this video to Billboard Vinyls and just see what they have to say about it. I mean, I would pay 50 bucks for something like this, maybe. But $100? No, not a chance. And I don't know, maybe you're willing to pay that if it's, you know, one of the things too is they advertise it for landscaping, you know, putting your landscaping mulch and rocks and stuff over top of it in like flower beds and stuff. But when you look at their main advertisements, the big reason why they have it is that, you know, you can cover equipment with it, you can use it on shelters. You can do all kinds of stuff you would with a normal tarp. It's going to be waterproof and it's going to last for years. That is literally their whole marketing gimmick. And the fact that it's like this is just very, I guess, disappointing. I don't know, maybe I should have suspected it. I don't know. But I tried it and this is how it was, and I'll probably send this in as a review to them and see what they have to say about it. And I don't know, on the very slim chance that this thing doesn't drip when it rains, then I'll come back and correct that. But I don't see how it could possibly be waterproof when you can see daylight through it in like 1,000 different places in here. So I don't know, maybe mine is a one-off thing, but I am willing to bet that most of them are like this. And I don't know, maybe they'll send me another one and maybe it won't have holes in it. I have no idea.